Fertile Crescent, a narrow strip of land straddling the northern reaches of the Arabian Desert. Since the dawn of history, a dark and bloody land. A stepping stone for conquerors. A highway for rampaging armies. Through the eastern tip of the crescent flow the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, watering the region of Mesopotamia. The finest city to grow out of this fertile plain was Babylon. A city of such wonder and luxury that the Bible calls it the praise of the earth. A proud, a beautiful city with gleaming towers, glittering temples, and gorgeous palaces. This was Babylon, nearly 6 centuries before the birth of Christ. Today, Babylon is ruined, but beneath the dust of the ages can be seen traces of that magnificence about which King Nebuchadnezzar could boast, "Is not this great Babylon, which I have built by the might of my power and for the honor of my majesty?" The king was proud of broad highways that trembled under mighty armies. He was proud of a secure city protected by tremendous walls, which historians consider the finest of the ancient world. It is said that the tops were broad enough so that 2 4-horse chariots could ride abreast. Each wall was constructed of fine clay bricks, carefully baked and joined together with asphalt cement. The walls were not only strong enough to safeguard the city, but sometimes lavishly adorned with images of dragons and other mythological creatures, symbolizing the power and authority of Babylon. Babylon's greatest king was Nebuchadnezzar, a brilliant leader of men. His people, known as Chaldeans, supplied him with enough fierce, hard-fighting troops to make him master of the civilized world. Under Nebuchadnezzar, Babylon ruled an empire that stretched from Persia on the east to the waters of the Mediterranean on the west. This embraced the entire Fertile Crescent, including the biblical city of Jerusalem. It was little Jerusalem that in 588 BC dared to revolt against Nebuchadnezzar. Of course, it was sheer madness. There could be but one result. Nebuchadnezzar and his troops besieged the city. They hammered the walls with catapults and battering rams, and after a desperate defense of 18 months, Jerusalem fell. The walls were pounded to rubble. The streets of the city ran red with the blood of men, women, and children. Many of the survivors were sent as slaves from Jerusalem to Babylon. Their lamentations during this period of terrible suffering are recorded in the book of Psalms. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yea, we wept when we remembered Zion. For they that carried us away captive required of us a song. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? But God heard their cries and promised deliverance from the yoke of Babylon. Fear thou not, saith the Lord, for lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. And it shall come to pass that I will punish the king of Babylon and that nation for their iniquity. God's judgment was carried out about 50 years after the fall of Jerusalem. One night in the year 539 BC, the royal banquet hall of Babylon rang with the sound of laughter and shouting. Belshazzar, grandson of Nebuchadnezzar, was holding a great feast. At the height of the merrymaking, he called on his nobles to drink wine and praise their gods of gold, silver, wood, and stone. But suddenly the tumult gave way to a deathly silence. The king trembled. His face grew tight with fear and astonishment. A wave of terror swept through the great banquet hall as a man's hand appeared and wrote these words for all to see. Many, many, tekel upharsin, which interpreted meant, thou art weighed in the balances and found wanting. God hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it. To the assembled Chaldeans, the prophecy must have seemed incredible, perhaps ridiculous. But even as the feast went on, the Medes and Persians were at the gates of the city. That very night they entered Babylon. Belshazzar was slain, and the great Chaldean empire forever destroyed. Babylon, once the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldeans' pride, became a desolation, a dry land, and a desert. As the Bible foretold, her broad walls were utterly broken. Even the walls of Belshazzar's banquet hall, the place where he saw the hand spell out the words of final judgment, have become only crumbling fragments of what they once were. And Babylon's fabulous hanging gardens, once high among the seven wonders of the world, now can be seen only as hideous ruins. Where once laughter and shouting were heard, now echo only the howling winds of the wilderness. For more than 2,000 years, the ruins of Babylon have borne silent testimony to the Word of God. The land shall tremble in sorrow, for every purpose of the Lord shall be performed, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without an inhabitant.